We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do the unidentical pod. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
Working on the theme song.
That was good. Is that we're gonna do this?
Do this, yeah. Did you like the? Yes. Makes it gangster.
Gives it a lot of street cred.
Mm-hmm. We have street cred. Mm-hmm. I'm still learning the machines.
Yeah.
Still learning the machines. Hey, you want to do a podcast?
Cheers.
Let's do a podcast.
Do it.
Unidentical.
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 Welcome back to the Unidentical podcast here in Long Beach, California at the podcast place. Coming to you from the podcast place in Long Beach, California. You know, I'll figure all that out. My name is Jason Collings, as you already know if you're still watching. And of course, my co-host, as always,
David Collings.
and super producer, Solo Man. Make sure you continue to rate and review at Apple Podcasts, iHeart, or Spotify, or wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. What's that other one? Breaker?
I don't know.
I haven't heard of that one.
Breaker, I think, is if you don't have an iPhone. Which, why wouldn't you have an iPhone? Yes. And also, if you want to look at us on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, smash that notification bell so you know when a new thing is coming at you. And of course, as always, you can send us some lovely messages at
Unidentical pod.
not
Gmail.
the.
Nope, no the.
Okay, no, the unidenticalpod at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Unidenticalpod@gmail.com. What was I going to say?
That was good. That was a good announcer. Do it again.
Um,
No, that.
unidenticalpod.com. Coming live and direct from the podcast place in Long Beach, California. Please welcome.
You got to sound a little like almost gonna throw up.
Yeah.
You're looking live.
You are looking live.
Can you imagine the guy warming up?
podcast place.
The guy did that, warming his voice up every day.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Here we go. Wow, me, mama. Here we go.
I want to see.
Welcome.
Yeah, I want to see his right. I
Whack.
want to see his routine.
Mhm. I was going to say something I can't remember what I was going to say.
Was it important?
It was meant. Probably.
when all else fails, just press buttons.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Something will come to you.
How was your week?
It was good. How was yours?
Mine was
Notice I just bounced right off of
yeah,
mine.
because it was full. You had a full week.
Oh, I did so many things actually.
Yeah?
I did the first. There was the then of course
Yeah.
then there was the remember with the thing.
Yes.
And then of course there was always the
Dude, your life.
yeah. So that was it.
I don't know if I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I could do what you do.
What did I do?
A whole lot of nothing. You did a lot. You did a lot of behind.
Oh,
the
I went
scenes.
with you. I went with you.
Yeah, you
out.
came with me to the Comedy Store. We
Yep.
went first. We went to the Ice House Comedy Club. This was it Friday night?
Yes.
Friday night, I was booked at the Ice House at 9:30, and I had a 10:30 spot. Ice House is in Pasadena. Then I had a 10:30 spot at the Comedy Store in Hollywood, which that's cutting it close. However, doable if I go on first and if the show starts on time.
That's the big one there.
There's the key.
Uh-oh.
Show starts on time.
That sounds like somebody screwed up.
Mhm. And guess who didn't perform at the Ice House Friday night? I got there, I went there, I said hi to everybody, took a few pictures, and then I looked at my watch and said, can't do it. And I went to the booker and I said, look, I got to go.
Wow.
And I left, which, they're bad.
Be on
But when-
time.
Be on time. But the Comedy Store was a lot of fun. I love that damn original room every
That was a great
freaking
night.
time. And my brother came, and our buddy our buddy Sam Hirschgold was there. Who else was with us? Oh, Alex Caron. I call him Alex.
That's right.
Alex
Yes.
Karen. You know Alex.
How's he doing? I haven't
He's doing
talked to
good.
him.
Alex is great. He's such a sweet kid. But yeah, he came out with us that night and did the whole hang. Like I picked him up and everything. And that was the first time hanging. He got to do the hang, and he's probably like, I'm never gonna ever do that again. These guys are a bunch of fucking weirdos. But no, he's a good dude. I call him Alex Karen. He loves that nickname. But yeah, it was the four of us. We went out. We had a blast. Oh, Genevieve
Genevieve was
met
there,
up
yeah.
before she had to take off back to Canada. She's back in Canada now. And of course, my buddy Kevin Olderman. That's what I call him. His name's Kevin Alderman. Look him up. But I call him Kevin Olderman because kind of an older man. He's up there in our Gen X on that level.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always a great time. It's never it always wins.
Yeah. I like the
original
wall.
room for me always wins.
Oh, it's so fun, man. Yeah.
What were you-
Dean was up before you, killing Dean Del Rey.
Dean Del Rey.
And that's who was there. That's who was up when we got there.
Yeah, Dean was
We
up
kind of
when
got
we
there right when you had to go up because you tried to wait for the other show. But yeah, it was a fun night, man. I love that club. I love being there.
Who did I bring up? David Hellum.
Yes.
Yeah, David Hellum.
That's who you brought up. I also enjoy that walk that we do from the store to the Laugh Factory.
Right.
Fun.
I'm very fortunate that I'm a paid regular at the store because this is one of the biggest things. This is one of the biggest perks of being a paid regular at the Comedy Store. You get to park free at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you've ever been on Sunset Boulevard on the Sunset Strip on a Friday night,
Yep.
parking
Awesome.
doesn't exist. And if it does, it's starting at about $25 to park your car.
Yeah.
And then there's a pay parking lot right down the street where you can pay at the machine, but it's always full on the weekends. So what we do is I park my car at the store, and if I need to go down the street to the Laugh Factory, we just walk that block. It's a cool historical walk too, because you walk by Chateau Marmont,
Yep.
you walk by where the Garden of Allah used to be. Remember that whole
Yes.
thing? That
Yep.
was where all the celebrities would hang out in the
Mhm.
30s and 40s.
Body shop.
The Body Shop is now the Body Shop was the last holdout of old school, Sunset Strip.
Really?
It's closed.
We used to go there a lot.
Body
Yeah.
Shop?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's closed down. It's done.
No
They
kidding.
closed it down. The Roxy is still up there.
Yeah.
Whiskey A Go Go is still up there. Rainbow Room is still up there, which those places aren't going nowhere, and I hope they're not. But yeah, we do that little walk down to the Laugh Factory, hang out, shake some hands, pick up some chicks.
Right.
Not chicks, honey, if you're watching. Checks.
I mean, you think they should embark on some kind of historical preservation thing for that area? I mean, there's just so much,
Here's the thing with it, though. Yeah,
stardom and everything that existed
the
there.
history is incredible.
Absolutely.
Like people don't understand or realize that the Comedy Store used to be Ciro's.
Oh,
Ciro's where like Sammy Davis and Sinatra and
The Rat
Dean,
Pack.
all those big guys were out there. They were up there on that stage, and I believe it's the main room stage.
The main. Oh, okay. I think
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, it is.
Used to be Ciro's, and Sammy was like the man there. Sammy Davis was the man there. But what's cool is that the Comedy Store is embracing that now. So you could buy T-shirts at the Comedy Store with the Ciro's logo on,
oh, nice.
which I think is so cool.
Wonder what that license cost him.
I know, right? If you look up Ciro's on Sunset, that it looks pretty. It looks close to the same. When
You
they
can see it. You could see.
yeah,
it.
you can still see it. That's why whenever I see my name on that wall, part of me just goes, "Whoa, I'm part of this
Yeah.
history of this boulevard."
Yeah.
Because it's a. It's
You were
called the
lucky. You were lucky to be in a class of guys getting their name that was on the front,
Yeah.
right on the front.
Yep.
Oh.
They had run out of room on the side and the back. So with that year, July of 2013,
Yeah.
the only empty spots on the wall were on the front of the building, right there on Sunset Boulevard. And there's a movie with Ryan Gosling and the other guy from what's his name?
What else is he in?
Dude, American Gangster. He's in so many things. British actor, but he could play American really well. God damn it, what's his name? The movie's called The Other Guys.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No, The Good Guys.
The good guy.
The good guys. Okay.
And the opening scene of The Good Guys is the Sunset
Crowe?
Strip. Yeah,
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe
Yeah.
and Ryan Gosling. And the opening scene on that movie is you're looking at the Comedy Store on the Sunset Strip, because in the movie, Russell Crowe's character lives in an apartment above the Comedy Store,
Oh, wow.
which isn't a thing. There
Yeah.
isn't that up there. And then when you see the scene of him in his apartment, that's completely somewhere else, because that thing doesn't exist up there. It's another showroom and offices and stuff. But when you're watching the movie and it pans by the front, boom, my name's right there. You could see it really fast if you don't blink.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you have that freeze frozen somewhere.
Yeah. So now one of the things that comedians, what hosts do when they're bringing on the next comic is they ask you, what do you want me to say? What are your credits? So I always tell them Jason Collings from The Good Guys.
That'd be funny.
I don't do that. But yeah, it's kind of cool. So any documentary you watch or anything like that, you see him panning by the store. You see, boom, me, Dean Del Rey. There's a bunch of us that are on the front there now.
Yep.
And now that's full. And now they're covering the sidewall, going back into that parking lot where we're allowed to park.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, the Sunset Strip. A lot of people think it was called the Sunset Strip because of strip clubs, and that's not why it was It was called that. It was called that because it was just a little strip of street that took you from West Hollywood into Beverly Hills.
Right.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
There was
strip
nothing up there
mall
but
or-
like orange groves, and then they had like poinsettia fields up there, and then they went crazy.
no oil derricks up there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't around back then.
Mhm.
What if I said I don't remember? It's been a long time. No, but the history there is great. Like the Trocadero, the Sunset Trocadero.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's still there. Like a buddy of ours, one of our best friends, his uncle was part owner of that place.
Mm.
Yeah, it's still there. A lot of the places aren't there anymore. You like House of Blues was directly across the street from the Comedy Store. It's one of those things where you're looking, when you're sitting on the patio of the store, you're looking right at the House of Blues and over it into this beautiful view of LA, going all the way to LA.
Yeah.
Gone. They built this. They took out the House of Blues, and they built this big, giant, high-end hotel.
Right.
It looks like a video game. You know that
does.
hotel that their lights are going
Yeah.
all around it and shit.
It's
Yeah.
right out of Tron. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have. There's no view. The best view was when they took down the House of Blues and built that.
Yeah, that
It
was
was just empty. That view was incredible. You could
Good
literally
view.
see all the way to downtown LA. It was beautiful. And now
It
there's no view at all.
made that patio hang nice.
Yeah. The only view you have now are sometimes there are couples in that hotel
Mhm.
having sex at the window.
That's not a joke.
Not a joke.
That's so I
I'll
mean,
never forget pulling into the store one night and all these people are standing out front looking up. So when I got the car parked, I walked out. I go, "What are you guys looking? Oh, and it was they were right up against the window having it.
And you think they obviously know they got
Yeah.
an audience.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
They're probably filming it.
yeah.
100%. But
What
yeah,
if her kink was like so specific? She's like, I want to be watched by comedians.
I have this really crazy fetish. And what is it? I just want.
I want comedians to see me getting railed.
I want middle of the road, not very famous comedians to just stand out on the sunset and look up at me getting railed. That's so funny.
Dude.
But one night it was a couple guys up there doing it,
Okay.
and there was a couple girls up there doing it.
Yeah.
It's pretty trippy. So now whenever I show up to the store, whenever I walk in, I kind of glance up there real quick.
And it's a hotel, you said, right?
Yeah, beautiful hotel,
So-
gorgeous restaurants and clubs.
So you think when you walk in and you ask the guy, "Hey, can I get the room with the balcony facing sunset?"
Yeah.
Right,
He
right,
just
yeah.
gives
Would you
that
like
look.
a LA view or a Sunset Strip view? Strip view.
Yeah. And he says, "Oh yeah, that'll be extra.
Yeah, that's extra.
Either that, or you split the profits."
It's
But we're
got-
gonna need you to sign a release because you're gonna have an audience.
You're signing papers.
Yeah.
It's got that neat advertising thing on it though. That's kind of
Yeah.
cool. It's like this
Pretty trip.
kind of this snaking kind of sign that goes all the way down the building.
All the way over, crossing down the.
Oh, I got to
Yeah,
get back out
Does
there.
advertising and
It's been a
shit.
minute.
But yeah, man, there's so much history on that strip. Like right next door, you got the Andaz Hotel that used to be the Hyatt House.
Mhm.
And back in the 80s, with all the big hair bands like Metallica and Motley Crue, all the local LA Sunset, they all called it the Riot House.
Mm.
And it was just an insane party all the fucking time.
They were
think it
constantly
was-
getting new furniture then.
Oh
Always.
yeah, it was
'Cause
TVs going out the window.
You hear
all
those
that shit.
stories about
Yeah.
TVs being thrown out onto the that was happening at the Riot House. And I think it was Led Zeppelin, I think, whenever they were in town, they rented out the entire, I think it was like 6th floor or something.
Wow.
They would rent out the entire 6th floor and just go get the lead out. Nuts. I mean, and they were doing crazy stuff in those parties were nuts.
Oh yeah, a line of girls.
could-
Next.
You could find there's a doc, I can't remember the name of the documentary, but it's about groupies
Mm.
during that big heyday of the Sunset Strip, LA, hair bands and shit like that. Because the strip for a while was it was the hippie era, like with when the Doors were big, the
Right.
Doors were huge, and,
Right.
like, all those bands, and then that faded and punk rock took over. And it was just nothing but a bunch of crazy punk bands. And then when hair metal, that glam
yeah.
rock stuff, and Motley Crue
That
and
was
those guys,
huge over there.
dude, David and I got to spend a lot of time on the strip during that time
Yeah.
because of a guy that used to manage one of my father's bands. He was managing a very popular LA blues rock band, but they were in that hair metal scene. The name of the band, if you Google it, the name of the band, they were called BB Chung King and the Screaming Buddha Heads.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get away with a name like that today.
I don't think you could today. Nope. This was the 80s. But the the lead guitarist and singer of this band, Alan. What was it? Do you remember his last
I
name?
feel bad. I can't remember his last name, but it was
Japanese American guy. His like father was or father was in the 442, but this guy,
442 is right.
No.
Japanese American soldier unit.
yeah,
During
Oh.
World War II.
World
Yeah.
War II,
Okay.
and this guy was the son of one of these guys, and he's just this coolest Japanese dude, long hair, leather hat, and to this day I've heard very, very few people play blues rock guitar as good as this guy. This guy was unreal.
Mhm.
They would do blues festivals, and once this band hit the stage, blew everybody out of the water. These
Wow.
guys were incredible, and their manager was a friend of our father's who managed my dad at one point. So we always got underage.
We were
Under
at the-
21,
we
they
were at
would.
the Roxy. We were at Gazzari's.
It was at
We
Gazzari's,
were
the
at-
Roxy,
What was that other one called? Bam. or
Bam,
something.
Rainbow Room,
Rainbow Room. Yeah.
and of course the Whiskey. We
Mhm.
went and saw him at the Whiskey, which dude, what a crazy time. And David and I didn't look anything like hair metal guys at all. We were hip hop dudes, and
We were
Yeah.
tourists.
but we also loved good music. So we would love to go see this band. But wow, what a time! The
was
strip
insane.
in the '80s was insane.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
just everything, all the legends and shit that you've heard, all true, all true. That's why I'm so happy that we were fortunate enough. A lot of people think it would be unfortunate, but we were fortunate enough to grow up in Los Angeles.
Yeah, man. We got to see a lot of cool stuff.
So we
man,
Yeah,
got to
you know?
see,
yeah.
We were here for a lot of that stuff. We
Mhm.
were here for the Richard Ramirez. we were
Dude, I talk
blocking
about
our
it.
windows. We were here for
I
the
talk
Olympics.
about that on
all
stage. I talk about it on stage how you think life is hard today. Be a child in the 70s and the 80s, you know. And growing up in LA in the 70s and 80s, I say this on stage, it was the golden age for active serial killers. They were out there on the job.
Yeah.
And our parents were having us, you remember the go outside and don't come home till the lights come on? I always
Yeah.
say it's an 8-hour shift, Monday through Friday. Being a kid was an 8-hour shift because dad would kick me out of the house at 9 a.m. and I couldn't come back till 5.
Oh, wow.
And they just throw a key around your neck and say, get
Oh.
home when you can, kind of a
Go survive.
Yeah. I remember my mom saying, get out of the house. Well, I don't have any money. You got a bus pass, right?
Yep.
And that was it. You
Yeah,
just
we were on
go
that bus
explore.
all the time. What did we call it? The big blue limo. That's what we called
Right.
the Long Beach Transit at
Yeah.
the time. What are they, like black and red now or
Yeah,
something?
and they're all hybrid.
But when we were kids, they were big blue and white buses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we were always like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm gonna go catch that big blue limo. We called it the big blue limo, and we called the school bus the bread box.
Right.
Mm.
And then there was another company at the time called
RTD.
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 That's the
Rapid
one that would take
Transit
you into
District.
LA.
That's it. We
Yeah,
called
that
that
was
one.
LA bus.
And we referred to that as rough, tough, and dangerous.
Yep.
That's what we called RTD.
Oh.
Rough, tough, and dangerous because that took you through the neighborhoods. Man.
Yeah. Yeah. I rode that to school every day.
Mhm.
I never forget when I think it was 1989 or 1990 when they reopened the Metro line, when the Long Beach Metro started and they had the one line
89.
and it was called the red line and the blue line.
Right.
I remember as kids we're like, are they nuts? Because it goes through some of the roughest Crips and Blood
South
neighborhoods
Central. Yeah.
in LA.
Yeah.
And they're calling this the red line and the blue line. Number it.
I just remember blue line for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Red line is up there now.
Yeah, but
Well, Red Line that's the one that goes west.
west
correct.
to east, like in the
Yeah.
which now is no, that's still the red line.
It's still the Red Line.
The Norwalk one is the green line.
The one there's one that goes up into West LA and Hollywood. Which line is that from the
The
center?
pink, that's the pink line.
But one of them, and it's funny because you'll be that
Uh,
was good, Jay.
Good joke.
Sorry about that. But I would take the Metro to LA a lot, and you would have to take the blue line up into downtown. And
right.
transfer to the
7th
one-
and
and it was so
7th
funny
Street.
because you'd be on the blue line, and it's like gangsters and stuff, and you can
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and then you get and then you get on the other one, and it's all like script writers and things like that, and
Dude, one of the funniest stories my brother told me is he's coming home late on the blue line. I don't know if you remember telling me the story.
Mm.
And he's on the train, and this big dude gets on the train, and the first thing he says, F white people. And Dave's like, that's my sign. And he
I was literally the only white guy on the train at that moment. I was
Yeah.
You're like, I'm
I
off.
gotta leave. I'm not welcome here.
Yeesh. Yeesh. But yeah, there's a lot of history there on that boulevard, like the Chateau Marmont. I've always loved.
But see, but that's what I mean, though, because a lot of that history now only exists in the stories of the people who were there.
Yeah.
it's not recognized as a mecca for music
Right.
and comedy in LA as it should be.
Yeah.
And I think it needs
And
some
the
kind of
thing is, it
recognition
should be
like
because
that.
it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just so much has changed, and not like this new generation, especially in entertainment. So many of them don't do their homework and learn their history.
Yeah.
Like was it Johnny Depp, uh, Keanu Reeves? They both lived at the chateau.
Yeah.
They lived there, and they said it was nuts, crazy. Belushi passed away there. That's where John Belushi passed away, right there at the chateau.
I want to say I've listened to a handful of podcasts about that place,
Yeah.
or seen a documentary or something.
It's really cool
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah.
When they first opened it, they didn't have any money, and they were somebody bought it, and when they bought it, it had all this old furniture, and it turns out a lot of that old furniture was from like estate sales from a lot of the mansions that were around the area.
Oh.
They would go
okay.
down and get the furniture from these places.
Sounds
Oh,
probably a
cool.
nice eclectic mixture of
Right.
styles. and
Yeah, isn't that
stuff.
neat? That's so cool.
Yeah.
God, I love the history of Hollywood.
Same.
It's so crazy. I love watching I loved LA Confidential.
Okay.
Like, I love that shit. Or
Was that set in the 40s?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. LA Confidential was set in the 40s.
Okay.
Big 40s, 1930s, 40s cars.
Is it pre-war? Or,
Yes.
so
Yes. But then you have LA Confidential, and then you have what's the lady that they cut her? Black Dahlia.
Oh, I was gonna say yeah, Black Dahlia.
And that's a great movie because it's Hollywood lore almost, and it's based in reality, like the movie Chinatown with Jack Nicholson. Awesome movie.
What?
I've been into those kind of movies lately. I just watched this old film noir movie called The Detour.
Uh-huh.
There's a couple in New York, and the girl leaves him to come to Hollywood to make it, and then he can't handle being without her, so he tries to hitchhike across the country to Hollywood to run into her, and ends up like
No
getting
spoils.
picked up by this. The movie was from 1947.
Oh, okay.
It's a movie from 47.
Oh,
I
okay.
watched an old movie.
Still might want to see it.
You want to see it? All right, cool.
Well,
Let's
he
see.
ends up on an adventure on his way to LA.
Oh,
put
boy.
it that way. Okay.
All kinds of crazy stuff.
Got it.
The acting is garbage. The guy's okay, but the woman in it's just, tell you what, say. You know how they overacted everything back then?
Yeah.
I love that. What's the big idea?
I'm on the level.
Yeah. Come clean, you.
Scram you.
You? Oh, you? That was like saying, fuck you back in the day. Oh, you?
Why I oughta?
Oh, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm all into this, the history of that stuff. I love it. Like I went to find the house up on Franklin where the doctor lived that they think is the guy that killed the Black Dahlia.
Yeah. That
Mm.
weird looking house, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's still there, and it still looks the same. It's still there. And
I got to get more into that. Didn't they have a TV series covering that with was it Josh Hartnett?
Yeah, maybe. I feel like I remember seeing something like
Dude,
that.
Yeah.
Such
yeah.
a crazy story. And that young
Mhm.
actress, they cut her in half, and then they cut a big smile on her face.
Ooh.
And the thing is,
Like
the
a horror movie.
precision was that of a surgeon. So this
Mm.
doctor, and decades later, this cop who's a retired police officer, now he thinks it's his dad that did it. And
That's what I was going to say.
His dad was the doctor who lived in that
Mm.
weird mansion.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember seeing a thing where a guy was like, it was my dad.
Mhm.
That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Mm.
Weird. But then another last holdout that closed down, and I was bummed about it because it was kind of like a meeting spot for comics, and for decades, comics for years have been going there. Is Greenblatt's Deli right next
Oh,
to the
yeah,
Laugh
yeah,
Factory. Shut it down. And, I remember going in there and seeing Jay Leno and Richard Lewis sitting in there having a sandwich
Right,
upstairs.
right.
And we would go there and we would take up, like 15 comics would take up a whole table, and we'd just be sitting in there having a good time.
Order a water and
Order a water. Yeah. Can I get a water and a half sandwich, please?
Yeah.
You got a pickle?
yeah, we're gonna sit
No,
there
it's
all
just-
night.
Just bring the pickle. Pickle was always good at one of those delicatessens. But that's done. They closed that down. But the rumor that I heard is the owner of the Laugh Factory bought it because it shares a wall with the Laugh Factory.
Right.
And they're going to expand now. Apparently, they're going to expand the Laugh Factory and make it.
Yeah, that's the one
showroom.
thing that's got to be hard to do to expand. I mean, it's just no
Yeah.
space to grow there.
Yep.
But
I don't know if they're going to
unfortunately,
expand the showroom or add another showroom. I don't know. But I've heard rumors about the Laugh Factory that's going to happen. I heard they're opening like 3 more clubs. They just opened one in West Covina. They turned some old theater into a Laugh Factory, and they got the Laugh Factory in San Diego. They got the Laugh Factory in Chicago still. But they
What's
used
the
to
Long
have
Beach
in
one?
New York.
Is
Huh?
that the Long Beach one? Is that Laugh
Yeah,
Factory?
that's a Laugh Factory,
And
Long Beach
and
Laugh
they are they
Factory.
owned by the same person?
The name is.
Got it.
Each
Okay.
club is individually owned, from what I understand. I
Okay.
think the guy that owns the Vegas club, he owns the Covina club. I'm not sure who owns the Chicago club. I know that Jamie Masada, he owns 100% of the name, the Laugh Factory.
Mm.
So if you open a Laugh Factory, you're paying Jamie. I've heard that he only owns half the Hollywood one, but he owns 100% of the name.
Mm.
But yeah, it's Jamie Masada's baby. He opened it in 19.
What about Long Beach?
I think it was 79 or something. The
Oh.
story about the Laugh Factory is pretty cool. I got a lot of insight from my buddy Fraser Smith. Shout out Fraser Smith. Fraser Smith, he's one of my best friends. He was very instrumental in helping me in the beginning of my stand-up career. This guy's awesome. Fraser Smith, his claim to fame is he's been kicked off every radio station in LA. There was a time when Fraser Smith was the most famous person in Los Angeles. He was on KLOS. He had his own. Remember back in the day, those Too Hip stickers that said Too Hip from KLOS?
Yeah.
That's Fraser's. That was his catchphrase, Too Hip.
Oh,
And
no kidding.
Fraser's little sidekick on the radio was a guy named Buddy Buddy. And Buddy Buddy was Jamie Masada, who now owns the Laugh Factory.
Wait, what year was this?
This was 70s and 80s?
So before Rick Dees.
Yeah, just before Rick Dees.
Okay.
Fraser Smith is who Howard Stern learned from.
Ah.
Fraser was a shock jock, and he would say things that would get him booted off. You meet that man today, he's the sweetest guy. He's so funny. He's a master of one-liners. I love the guy so much. Anyways, Fraser told me a bit of the history about how the Laugh Factory happened. So Jamie Masada opened this place on the corner of Laurel and Sunset, and it was a Chinese restaurant. It was an old Chinese restaurant that he took out, and he just put a wall up and put a stage up, and it was not a nice place.
Okay.
And that end of the strip back in those days was where all the hookers and drug dealers were. And so nobody went there. It was like the kind of bottom of the barrel, from what I understand. Then Richard Pryor's making his comeback, right? After he hurt himself when he burned himself.
Yeah.
And now he's making this comeback to do Live from the Sunset Strip, but he needs to work out his material, but he doesn't want a bunch of people seeing it.
Right.
So he hits Jamie Masada up and says, yo, can I come work out at the club? He's like, yeah. So you got the Improv down one street, you got the Laugh Factory down one street, but then you got this little shithole right here on the corner of Laurel and Sunset, and people start finding out Richard Pryor's over there doing his thing.
Yeah.
Let's go. And then, of course, when they found that out, and then a lot of the other comedians like, God damn it, what's his writer's name that wrote for him for years? I'm really bad with holding names in my brain.
Mooney?
Paul Mooney.
Yeah.
Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney started going down there, and he started working out. So then then the crowds obviously start showing up. We're
Right.
like, we can go see Richard Pryor working on shit, and not have to pay to go to the Comedy Store or the Laugh Factory, and then
Improv, yeah.
and the Improv. And then some time went by, and then they decided to. That's when A&E wanted to do a show
Okay.
on the Laugh Factory, and that's when all the money got thrown into. That's how it got its look that it looks like today.
Yeah.
A&E gave them some money. They made it into a beautiful club, and then there you go. And next thing you know, you got the Laugh Factory. And
Mm.
all the clubs have their ups and downs. You know which one was always solid, though, in my opinion? Improv.
Yeah.
Improv always seemed to be skating. Laugh Factory had its ups and downs. Comedy Store had its ups and downs, which says a lot about that Sunset Strip, because both of those clubs are on that boulevard.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the
And what do you
Improv
think
is
of the
down
What do you think
over
of the
Melrose.
downs? Or
Huh?
Why do you, when you say ups and downs, why do you think they had?
Well,
the
it's
downs?
time. It's times. It's the trend of comedy. It's when comedy started falling off and then boomed again. Like, for example, that whole thing when Richard Pryor, there was a comedy boom
Yeah.
in the early 80s. Huge comedy boom. I mean, every club you got to see Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, all these guys, right?
Right.
Rodney Dangerfield had his Young Comedian special on HBO.
That was the one.
and,
man.
you're in there showing you're discovering guys like Jim Carrey and Sam Kinison on these things. you know?
Right.
Louis Anderson, who was fucking hilarious.
That was also an evening at the Improv.
There was
era.
another one called An Evening at the Improv on A&E. Yeah. And so it would have a boom, and then for some reason times would change and generations would change, and then things would, it would go up and down. Like the Laugh Factory had its up, and then it went down again.
Mm.
And then when Dane Cook showed up in early 2000, it became the mecca of comedy. Like when Dane Cook was on, because he went to Jamie Masada, if I remember hearing this correctly, and said, I want I want the Laugh Factory to be my home club. And boom, his CD,
Harmful if swallowed.
Harmful as Swallowed, blew up. Like, literally went viral before viral was a thing.
Yeah.
People all over, like kids were,
When
we would listen
viral
to
actually
it.
meant something bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it was, it was a virus.
But Dane Cook was the guy who really was the first guy that really took advantage of a social media platform,
Oh,
with
yeah.
MySpace.
For sure.
And I remember during those times, you would go to the Improv and there would be giant MySpace posters inside the showrooms and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And I feel like that was because of Dane Cook.
It was. And they, for the longest time, the Laugh Factory comedians would call it the house that Dane built.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his name was on the top of it and his picture was all over it. And it didn't matter if it was a Monday, a Tuesday, or whatever. If his name was on the marquee, there was going to be a line down the street
Yeah.
to see this thing. They were killing it. They were making so much money.
Hmm.
And then Dane left there, and when that happened, the Comedy Store started taking off again because the Comedy Store went through a really low. Like when I first started going there and becoming a regular at the store, it was not like it is now.
It was a little seedy.
It was very seedy. You'd be on stage. I mean, there'd be homeless people sleeping in the showroom.
No way.
Yeah. People would come in and just sleep on the back benches and stuff. And like, it was nuts.
Mm.
It was so different. And then, some management changed. Some guys that didn't like the guy before that was running the place decided to come back. You know anything about the history of the Comedy Store? Mitzi Shore, it was her thing, and she's the one who chose the comedians. And then when she got sick, this guy took over, named Tommy, and it was his kind of job to do that. But Tommy was a bit of a racist, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, and so a lot of people stopped going, and then the whole thing with Mencia and Rogan happened. That all got caught on tape.
That was in the OR.
That was in the OR. And what happened was, at that time, Mitzi still had her wits about her, and Mencia was her boy. Like, she's the one who gave him the name Carlos Mencia. His name's not Carlos Mencia.
Yeah.
His name's like Ned something.
Ned.
And by the way, I toured with Mencia. He's a good guy to me.
Yeah.
But
You just
when
have me wondering what Ned is short for, but
yeah. Then they had that thing where
Nedward.
Rogan accused him of stealing jokes. They went on stage. They had that big blow up on stage. Did you see any of this?
I don't know anything about it.
If you YouTube it, it's actually in the history of stand up comedy.
Yeah.
It's a huge critical moment. Like, it's a moment
Bigger than the slap?
bigger than the slap.
Okay.
This thing was huge, especially in the comedy community, because it was like, whoa. Because what happened was, Mencia was Mitzi's guy, and she asked Rogan to go. She banned Rogan and said, "You have to go. Don't come here for a while." And Rogan was like, "F that. I'm coming to the defense of all the comedians. This should be talked about. If somebody's stealing your stuff, we got to stop this from happening. This is our art that's being stolen." Blah blah blah. It was a whole thing.
Right.
So when he went, a whole lot of other people went with him, and a lot of guys weren't going there anymore. Like Burr wasn't going there anymore, and then when that. And because the guy that replaced Mitzi, that stepped in for Mitzi, not replaced, she was irreplaceable, but stepped in for her, he had a shitty reputation. He was a weird guy. He was very racist. He would drop the N-bomb all the time, talk about Mexicans all the time, and he was just a thing. So a lot of people didn't go. And then during his reign as the guy that passed people to become paid regulars, no black comics were getting passed.
That's what I was going to ask. So it's all white guys on stage.
All white dudes on stage, and Bobby Lee.
And it's interesting you say that, because I came across another comedian who did a podcast, and I would catch him sometimes before the show, and he'd be on the phone trying to get these gigs, and I'd hear him go, "What? You're kidding me?" And he gangs off the phone. He's like, "Yeah, they're just saying, oh, they got too many like straight white guys now.
That's what
they don't want to deal with that anymore. They want to have more diversity."
See, what Hollywood does is they take a thing that's a good thing and they turn it into a bad thing. They overdo it. They overreact. They overcorrect. They over fucking correct.
Yeah, and they're usually overcorrecting and overreacting to their own bullshit.
Their own shit. I always say Hollywood is that racist guy that that says, "Black people are some of my best friends."
Yeah.
That's Hollywood. And the thing is, they overcorrect. Like, I've had my reps tell me no one's interested in a straight white guy right now.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, that's so dumb. And it just started becoming the last box checked was funny. It's all this other shit. But anyways, so he didn't book a bunch. Didn't book any. And then people complained. So then he did this one time where he passed like 4 or 5 black guys at once. Like, hey, make it more obvious
Yeah.
that it's just a favor-ish thing. Like you think
Right,
it's a
right.
favor. Terrible. They finally caught that dude stealing money and got rid of him. And then the guy that replaced him, because he was definitely replaceable, he took it to another level. He took it back to that. You're gonna come here and you're gonna see superstars. And when that guy hit that office, Rogan came back. Fucking all these big names came back. And next thing you know, every week you got Rogan, Bill Burr, Sebastian Maniscalco, Bobby Lee, Mark Maron, all on the same lineup. So you're watching like
You're like,
15
holy cow.
national headliners in a fucking row. And I was extremely fortunate to be on those lineups. At the time, I was one of the later guys,
Sure.
but still I was there. You know, I was at the party, which was, hey, amazing. I wasn't happy with my spots, you know, because before he came along, I was getting great spots. And then, you know, things changed.
Yeah.
And he was good about talking to me about it. Like he wasn't like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And he was honest. He says, look, man, there are very few spots to go around. I'm giving you what I can. And I had to understand that because at the time, realistically, I wasn't selling tickets. Once you got there and saw me, you were happy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't the one
you weren't a draw.
I wasn't bringing them in.
Gotcha.
Bill Burr was bringing them in. Sebastian was bringing them in. Rogan was bringing them in. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's how that went down. And it's just kind of stayed the top club in LA since then. Even though that guy, Adam Egget, he's gone now. He went to Austin with Rogan, and him and Rogan opened a comedy club called the Mothership Comedy.
Right.
And
It's a great name.
Beautiful club. What I love is they have a bar dedicated to Mitzi Shore. There's a bar in there called Mitzi's Bar.
Oh, nice.
And I just love that. I love nods to history and knowing where you came from. I just love that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I
I like
have-
that club.
I haven't gotten a chance to go there yet, but
Uh-huh.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it when I go out there again.
The one you do in Bellflower, how they have the pictures of all of the
Oh, yeah.
comedians right there and have their own booths and stuff.
Yeah, each
That was
booth
really
is
nice.
dedicated to a fallen comic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's a Phyllis Diller booth, there's a Robin Williams booth, there's a Carlin booth, there's a Dangerfield booth, and there's
Kinnison?
is it a Kinnison booth? Maybe.
I don't remember.
But then there's another wall with a bunch of other people's, like Brody Stevens is up there, and like
Oh.
Red Fox is up there. And yeah, that
Yeah.
club. Listen, if you're in the Bellflower area, Long Beach, Bellflower, Lakewood, Cerritos, all the surrounding areas, there is a club in Bellflower, California called the Stand Up Comedy Club.
yeah.
So it tells you in the title what it is, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually, the guy who owns this club had a magazine called the Stand Up Comedy Magazine.
Oh.
And so he named it after that. And he just built a perfect club. The sound system's incredible. The ceiling's not too
Oh,
high.
that place
the
is
seating.
nice. And
Yes.
I know when
Beautiful.
I went there, I was expecting it just, 50 times painted over black walls and wires everywhere and crap. And it was just a really quality, like you would go there to eat. If,
Oh,
it
man.
was just
You know
really,
John.
really nice.
If you know John, the guy that owns it and built it and designed it, did everything.
Right.
He does everything down to he does the social media stuff. He's if you message them on Instagram,
Yeah.
it's John answering the messages. Like,
Wow.
He's the shit. But he's also a stickler. Like when he saw pictures of the new ice house, he's like, how come I can see the outlet on the wall? I shouldn't be able to see that outlet on the wall. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he has
Oh, wow.
on his phone, he could change the lighting in the room. He could do, and it's incredible. Good food, good people. It's a
Yeah.
family-owned business. His
Bellflower,
wife,
right?
Yeah.
yep, his wife is incredible. But yeah, it's a great little club. I was just there on Saturday night. I'm going to be there, you guys. Also, I will be at the Bellflower Comedy Club. I believe it's November 17th. Let me double check.
That's off the Highway
Yep,
91.
November 17th at 9:00. Come see me at the Bellflower Comedy Club.
Nice.
You're coming too.
I'm coming.
Awesome.
Wait.
I'll be there.
I'll support. I'll get the biggest booth.
But yeah, that's when you see a room that's perfect like that. And that's another thing they're doing with the Comedy Store that I love. They're slowly cleaning it up. They're not changing it.
Right.
You walk in, you're still at the Comedy Store.
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
it to feel
Like
that
the
way.
Ice House, I have a hard time with a little bit because they've changed it.
Got it.
You walk in and you're like, oh, this isn't
It's brand new.
the Ice House I know and love.
They hired some 20-year-old designer with no
Yep.
sense of history.
And they fired everyone that's involved in comedy that has any kind of contact in comedy. None of them work there anymore. They're all booked by the woman who books the comics. She used to be like head of the WNBA or something. Like knows nothing about comedy. What's her name? windy or something. I can't remember. But you go into the Ice House, you're like, bummer. This not Comedy Store. The sound system's updated, the lighting is updated, the floors are updated, some of the seats are updated, but you're still in the Comedy Store. You're still in that black box with the red neon light. It's
the best.
The original room is, I gotta tell you, man, the original room is my favorite room in the world. I love that room so much. For comedy,
Yeah.
It's just, you feel like you're home. You feel like you're at your gym. You know how you go to somebody, you're not at Equinox. You're not at Equinox.
Right, yeah.
You're like at the original Gold's Gym.
Yeah, Average
Still had
Joe's.
blood on the walls. You're at Average Joe's.
Yeah.
But it's cleaned up now,
Yeah.
and you just the place is amazing. I know I can go on and on about the day.
Yeah, and I always say it's like going to a comedy museum, stand-up comedy museum. Yeah, it's really cool.
When even if I get off a 9-hour flight from somewhere that I've done stand-up, if they tell me come to the Comedy Store tonight, you're on at 9:30, I'm going.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there.
Yeah.
The first time I ever did a huge like arena size audience was with Carlos Mencia. He took me out on tour years ago in like 2008 or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was a long time ago. And it was one of his last big venue tours. And it was my first time ever doing it. It was my first time on a tour bus, all that. When I got home, I literally went straight to the Ha Ha Comedy Club in North Hollywood and did like a 40-minute set in front of fucking eight people just to reset, to recalibrate. Oh, this is comedy. It's another club I got to give props to because it's the first one that put me up was the Ha Ha Comedy Club in North Hollywood. Great room. What's your favorite club to go out to in LA to see me?
Comedy Store.
It's just is.
Second is Improv.
Yeah. Both of those, and here's why. Tell me if I'm wrong. Both of those clubs have a social atmosphere. In other words, you have the front bar, the front outdoor bar at the Comedy Store, but not just that. You have what they call sacred ground in the back, where like people can go and have a smoke and whatever.
Oh, I did that on Friday.
Yeah, and then the Improv, they have a front social bar area where you can just hang out and not be shushed. And the Laugh Factory has that VIP room upstairs, but it's just not the same vibe.
Yeah, it kind of has a.
Which, by the way, I love the Laugh Factory. My first time performing at the Hollywood Laugh Factory, I was just like, Joe Coy said it to me once. He goes, "This is like the church of comedy for him." Because the way the room is, especially when it's full, holy shit. But socially, the hang at the Improv and the Comedy Store. And, I've noticed recently that a lot of people, when they're done with their set at the store or done with their set in Hollywood at the Ha Ha or Laugh Factory, they're like, all right, I'm going to go have a drink at the Improv. And you end up at the bar at the Improv,
That's cool.
Cool
bar too.
And it's, like I said, that history.
Yeah.
Crece.
Super crazy.
So you liked the store?
Yeah, that's my favorite place to go.
Nice.
Yeah, I have to admit it. The ability to walk around in places because people assume I'm you is kind of nice.
Well, now, though, even though they know it's you, it's been almost 20 years now. You could just walk in any club you want, pretty much in LA.
Yeah, I don't like
they
to
love you.
I don't like to assume, but yeah, I like that you can watch a guy in the OR and then jump out that back door in the hallway, go down the hallway and watch something in the main room or
And run upstairs,
hit the stairs, see the belly room. It's a cool place.
And you're in a position where you can go into the kitchen and go up those back stairs. And
there's that
the crowd and everything.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the best. What was I going to say? I was just about to say something about Frasier. Oh, when I said they all love you, like when he hadn't seen Fraser Smith, that guy I was telling you
good.
about.
Right.
And when Fraser walked in and he sees me, and then when he sees my brother, everybody's eyes light up when they see him. Because he doesn't come out a lot. Like he's coming out more, but not coming to the clubs more. And everybody's always so happy to see him. Makes me really upset.
No, dude. Sometimes
it really hurts my feelings.
Sometimes Becca has to kick me out of the door. Just go. I'm like, oh,
he's a homebody. Man. He loves being home. But once you're out,
it was so fun, dude. Friday night was a blast. I had a good time. And yeah, it was great seeing Fraser. And he's again one of the ones that since we met, he's been able to tell us.
He always knows.
But he's known you before you were a comedian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
First time I met Fraser Smith was before I was a stand-up. It was an interesting night because that's the night that John Lovitz kicked me in the shin. Ever tell you the story? On purpose.
Okay.
So I wanted to go see Joe Coy. Joe Coy says, come to the No, Joe Coy came and picked me up. Actually, that's the night that I decided I'm gonna just stop being a pussy and do stand-up. But Joe picks me up at my parents' house, and we go down to Irvine? Brea Improv.
Brea, okay.
We go down to Brea Improv, and it's literally John Lovitz is the headliner, Joe Coy was the featured act, and Fraser Smith was the host. So I go into the green room, and I'm in the green room with John Lovitz and Fraser Smith and Joe Coy, and I'm like,
Right.
wow. And Joe Coy introduces me to John and says, hey, this is my buddy Jason. He's a kung fu master. Like, he used to always say that. And John Lovitz goes, well, what do you do if I do this? And he kicked me in the shin hard. And I was like, usually I'd kick the shit out of you, but I can't do that right now. But yeah, interesting. Cut to years later, he opens his own club, and I was regularly headlining his club.
Did he remember kicking you?
Yeah. He says he didn't, but he has to remember that.
Nah.
He's one of those famous guys that when I've met him, I've been introduced to him as a new person so many times.
Oh.
Like, he just doesn't remember me,
Yeah.
which is crazy because there's other guys that, I would reintroduce because I'm used to that. Because I know now from this side of it, we meet and are introduced to so many people
Yeah.
that it's hard to remember. It's hard to keep track. It just really is. So I'm conscious of that and sensitive to that. And so me and Tony Rock, Tony Rock is Chris Rock's brother.
I guess I know it now.
Oh, Tony's hilarious. Tony is so freaking funny. He's the funniest Rock. Tony Rock and I have this ongoing joke now that whenever we see each other, we introduce ourselves to each other.
Yeah.
Because I was doing that. Till finally he was like, Jason, stop introducing yourself to me. I know who you are. So I was like, hey man, Jason Collings. And now whenever we see each other, he's like, hey, Tony Rock. I was like, Jason Collings, nice to meet you.
That's funny. That's good stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't think John remembers me. I don't think he'd remember me today.
Mm.
Which is, who cares really?
Speaking of remembering, somebody gave me a picture to show. I was wondering
Oh,
if we
yes.
have a
We
moment
gotta
to
see
show
this.
it.
We're going to try to put
See
up,
this
for
picture
the
here.
listeners, we're putting up pictures of my brother and I when we were little guys. And for the viewers, I'd like you, I'm not going to say who's who today.
Oh, I was going to ask.
There we are. I was going to say none of the lights are on. We want you, viewers, to guess which one is which and leave a comment. And on the next episode, if I remember, we'll tell you who it is. How's that?
That sounds good.
Well, let's
I can tell you that was at Disneyland.
yeah, let's throw out some clues here. Now, one of
Was
you
it
guys
Disney?
has got the tongue hanging out, and that looks like more challenging.
The authorities?
Yeah, I saw that. And the other one just looks like, let's stop and think about this.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you guys are about
Let's
to do.
stand up in the middle of setting the shot. That's what the look on that other one.
Yeah,
You're
that did
spot
happen.
on, man.
Well, one looks more contemplative, and the other looks more like, let's just go do it. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah. I'm not going to say which one is,
Well, all right.
but my mom and dad called me. My nickname when I was little was Sparky because they said I had that little devilish sparkle in my eye.
That's right.
So you guess. You guess.
For the listeners, it's us at Disneyland, and we're in our little Mickey Mouse Club Walt Disney
With our afros.
crew
With our
sweatshirts,
butterfly collars.
giant butterfly collars sticking out.
You're
those are
probably
great.
sweating too.
That's a great shot.
That's where you could throw us like a glider with those collars, man. Look at those things.
Oh, look at those guys, huh? Oh, fellas. All right, kids. I think we did a podcast.
Sure did.
Thank you guys so much again for watching and listening. Keep up the support. We love it. We need it. It helps. And we'll just keep new episodes coming at you. Episodes. Once again, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube. And make sure you, leave us a 5-star rating and write us a review. Rate and review wherever it is that you download audio. So you got Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those are the main ones pretty much. Are we on?
I think we're on iHeart.
iHeart, and then the other one's Stitcher. That's the other one. Not Breaker.
Yeah, Stitcher. I've heard of
Stitcher, for sure.
There's Stitcher, which is basically Google Podcasts.
Watch a Breaker end up being some obscure porn site or something.
Breaker, Stitcher. As always, coming to you live and direct from the podcast place here in Long Beach, California. Make sure you give them a look. This place is amazing. If you want a quality podcast done the right way, do it right here at the podcast place with the super producer Solo Man.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, dudes. Let's say goodnight or good morning or goodbye.
Bye.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Identical pie.